and just allow yourself to tune into the present moment. These Thursday tickles are short and they're here to give you a break from the real world and to tickle you with information for your personal expansion. Why? So you can have more choice and freedom in everything that you experience. So, that being said, drop in the chat when you hear the word uncertainty, what's one thing that rises for you? Maybe it's another thought like fear. Maybe it's something like anger. Maybe you hear uncertainty and it's not a thought, but a physiological sensation. Maybe you notice when you hear uncertainty, you hold your breath, you lean back. So take a moment, drop in the chat. When you hear uncertainty, what do you feel? What comes up? You see, uncertainty, it's not a foreign concept. Many of us choose it every day, often in ways that are so subtle we don't even notice. I mean, think about it. Every time you lay your head at night to go to sleep, there's a moment of uncertainty that you're stepping into. You're slipping into the unknown. You don't know what you're going to dream. You don't know where your mind will wander or how rested you'll wake up. Will you have a beautiful dream or a nightmare? You surrender, willing or not, to the uncertainty of sleep, trusting that somehow it will all work out by morning. In a world that craves control, we live in a world and society where there's so much nuance, so many subliminal messages of control, of wanting to be in control of the things around us. And of course, we've got this beautiful thing called the mind, which loves to also lean into control. For the mind, oftentimes control gets associated with safety, especially if you are someone like myself who's been in experiences where things were out of your control. Things were out of your control so much so that it felt unsafe. Maybe you found yourself going into a place of trauma. And again, just looking at trauma through the lens of having any time our needs weren't met or seen. Over time, these associations, these real life examples we have of not being in control of our life fuels the inner critic and the mind, and that fear, distress, resentment, frustration, whatever it is that you feel around uncertainty. And again, if you're like, does sleep is one example, other forms of uncertainty that many of us step into are, things that just taking a breath. Uncertainty are things that we are constantly stepping into when we go into the grocery store. And even if we have that itemized list and we're only getting the things that we're getting, there's a certain sense of uncertainty. We don't know how long those lines are going to be. We don't know if we're going to get distracted. We don't know if we're going to run into someone that we might see. And just take a breath. Can you really think about some of the other areas in your life? Hey, Crystal, other areas in your life where you really start to notice the areas of uncertainty. If you're watching this right now, plot twist, you're in uncertainty. You have no idea what I'm going to say. Yet you're here, leaning in, open. And so why there's other times where we embrace uncertainty or at least lean into it subconsciously, there are so many other times that many of us really make that association with of the fear, of the fire that comes when we don't have control. So just want to be real. Let's talk about the fear of uncertainty. That's something that many of you I know struggle with, because this is a struggle and a plight of so many of us in the world that we live in, especially for women. We get disconnected from our intuition. We are living in a world of second guessing, of what ifs, of should haves. And as a result, we end up swallowing our words, hiding our true voice, and next thing you know, we're just in the space of uncertainty, of anxiety, and then the fear of judgment that might play into that. So take a breath if any of this relates, and just I invite you to wipe the mirror of your heart. And if you're feeling all the feels, just take a moment, wipe the mirror of the heart, and really just let some of that dust unsettle. Because choosing uncertainty can be really hard, and that is the goal of this tickle. Is to have you in a few minutes really be able to lean into some empowering acts of sovereignty, so that it's almost comical how many ways you can find ways to choose uncertainty and avoid the fear. But the fear of what we don't know is something that I got to touch on from the very beginning, because it is a primal fear. It's real, and it shows up in sneaky day-to-day ways. Take decision making, for example. You're scrolling through a menu at a restaurant. Ooh, will I have the club sandwich or the BLT? Flipping between the most delicious options. But instead of trying something new, oh, wow, I couldn't help but notice that goat cheese chutney veggie burger. You go for the dish that you always go for. It's because you know that you really enjoy that dish. You know what that dish is going to taste like. The mystery of the unknown might seem too risky for a meal. That's a small but real cost of avoiding uncertainty. And so, in that little snippet of day to day example, I share that with you because oftentimes we can catch ourselves going into a spaces of autopilot, of holding ourselves back from trying new experiences, from living a new version of our life that we've always wanted to live. Because we catch ourselves in that space of that decision feels too risky. That decision of the unknown feels too risky. And it dials down and infiltrates in so many ways of our lives because plot twist, we're all interconnected and all the areas of our life are as well. And so knowing and just feeling that, how has the uncertainty or the frustrations or the fear of it started to really impact your day-to-day life? Just take a moment and really think about that, because the more that you can become aware of where you're choosing to put your attention into, the easier it's going to be for you to take control of your choice and really start to lean into some new adventures. Because if there are areas of your life that you'd like to improve, that you would like to have more ease, more joy, more clarity around, probably means that you're going to be stepping into new opportunities and new actions, new thought patterns, new behaviors that you've never stepped into before. And that's going to cause some uncertainty. You're going to have to do things that you've never done before to live a version of your life that you've never led. And it's that fear of uncertainty and us choosing to avoid that, which can really come at that cost. And so just a couple more examples that I want to share with you. And these are all examples that my clients tend to really struggle with. You know, one of my clients, Brianna, she struggles in this area of uncertainty, especially around relationships. If you've ever felt in a relationship with someone, but the uncertainty of being alone or finding someone new feels even scarier, so that you settle and stay in a relationship where you find yourself trading your happiness, your desires, your dreams for what feels like safety. Because what would life in the day to day look like without that person, without that routine? How will you know if you ever find the one? Are you even capable of navigating life without this person? I know Brianna's been in relationships for a few years, and sometimes she finds her space in that place of uncertainty. If I'm by myself, who's going to support me in doing the things like the handiwork around the house? Who am I going to call when I'm having a bad day? Just take a breath into that. I share those examples of the menu in the restaurant and dating because, again, I invite you to really think about how is uncertainty and how you navigate uncertainty, how does it impact the reality of the life that you're living? Because I also want to tell you what's possible on the other side of uncertainty. What if, hear me out, I know it's wild, so stay with me, ladies, but what if instead of fearing the unknown, we just reframed it? What if uncertainty wasn't a threat, but a possibility? The truth is, everything we desire, I mean, I'm talking growth, I'm talking transformation, love, adventure, creativity, authentic expression, all of those beautiful things blossom and live on the other side of uncertainty. By holding on to what we know, we end up oftentimes locking ourselves in a box, and we catch ourselves just slightly out of grasp of the endless array of blossoming possibilities that life offers. And take a breath into that. And know anything that you're feeling is not your fault. We have been trained as a society, and there are many feminine wounds that get brought up when it comes to stepping into the unknown and stepping into possibility, stepping into power. Whew! Take a breath into that. How does stepping into power make you feel? One word. Let me know in the chat. Yeah. Nervous, strong, capable, irresponsible. Yeah, take a breath into that. What could change for you if you leaned into the unknown rather than just backing away from it? Would you travel to that place you've always dreamed of? Would you have that wild thing on the menu? Would you say yes to the spontaneous invitation? Would you sign up for puppy yoga or goat yoga or take the risk of just starting a new creative project? Would you allow yourself to be a little bit more seen? To dress a little more authentically? To say the joke that's been whispering on the tip of your tongue, and in those moments you always find yourself too nervous or too afraid of the unknown and how it will be received that you swallow it back down? What would happen if you opened yourself up to uncertainty, believing that it was a possibility for transformation and not just a space for risk, but a place where magic, you get to truly unfold? But how? Well, ladies, I thought you would never ask. One thing that I'm going to invite you to do, there are a few ways that we can choose uncertainty. And one way to choose uncertainty, the big overall thing, is to start creating a new relationship with it. Women, our superpower is oftentimes deep in our space of connection, of being able to hold empathetic space, of being able to hear and witness and be in full presence with our friends, with our partners, with our parents, our siblings, you name it. And society has oftentimes weaponized our huge heart with labels of things like wild, too much, dramatic, sensitive. But how can you choose uncertainty from a place of power and strength? You create a relationship with it. One that's authentic to you, one that isn't molded by society. How can you really start to deepen your relationship with uncertainty? Can you romance it? Can you take it to go get ice cream? Can you imagine that you are just going in the corner of your office or room and calling uncertainty the same way you would call a friend that maybe you've been having a little stress with? Start to create new relationships with it. And I know that it can be difficult to do that. And this is something that I dive a lot more into with my clients because it takes a journey, really being able to reprogram and reshift our thought patterns and our nervous systems so we can hear things like uncertainty and step into concepts like uncertainty with a new regulated nervous system, one that we choose to create. But I'm going to share like 2 fun little quirky things that you can do to really allow yourself to just start choosing uncertainty and to start creating a new relationship with it. One of them, take the weird path. Seriously, I invite you to go outside. Set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes and just go for a walk. Can you maybe go a way that you've never gone before? If you're like, Des, 10 minutes is too short of a time, I can maybe make it like halfway down the street. What if instead of walking forward, you took 5 steps and walked backwards? What if you walked sideways? What if you just walked and like did little shoulders? What if you did it and imagined just for a few steps that you were in a beautiful otherworldly land? I'm not asking you to go and make wild arms or pretend to be a bird. I see you, Karen, and do all these big wild movements, but just to start doing one little thing, taking a step backwards, taking a pause, doing a skip. We all have routines that make life easier and life taking the same route, walking the same way. But what if you just shook things up? What if you allowed yourself to do the uncertain, unexpected thing, like sidestep or take a step back for a few moments? Maybe you imagine that, like I said, like you're in this otherworldly place, or that the path that you're on is leading to a hidden cave. The goal of this is just really getting you off autopilot and into new spontaneous expression. So take the weird path, even if it's only for a few seconds or a few steps. The other thing I'm going to invite you to do, I'm going to invite you to play Yes Roulette for a day. And so this is going to be a little bit more of a bigger stretch for my women and souls who are really seeing this, who are like, okay, Des, like I'm already pretty like okay with uncertainty, and I'm definitely doing weird paths home all the way. So can you do Yes Roulette with yourself? You know, set aside a day, maybe on the weekend, where your only rule is to say yes to everything that comes your way. Maybe you're like, Des, 24 hours, I can't do that. It's okay. Start with 30 minutes. Start with an hour. But giving yourself that time container can be a great gift on your nervous system to really allow yourself to start doing new and playful things. If you've ever found yourself wanting to journal or do something and you find your mind taking that thought and racing and running away with narratives like we don't have time, or you found yourself doing the exercise and building resentment, Oftentimes it's because we didn't set that container for our nervous system. And so it's that lack of structure and organization and certainty that our nervous system gets disrupted with. And so set the timer. Set the timer as you embark in deeper levels of your healing journey to just give that nervous system support. And so that yes roulette, set a timer for an hour, 2 hours, maybe be bold and try a half day, whether it's an invitation to try a new bizarre dish, or maybe do an unexpected opportunity to take part in some random activity like a 5K or a walk or going to a botanical garden. Just trust that whatever happens will expand your comfort zone. This playful practice begins to start showing your body and your mind that you're stepping into the unknown with new associations, that you are starting to create your own narrative around uncertainty, and that as you step into these deeper parts of your own choice, it can lead to delightful surprises. So everyone, take a big, beautiful breath into that. I know we've been talking about a lot. Hope you enjoyed this tickle. I just want to come in choosing uncertainty. It's not about jumping off into a void of the unknown. It's not about abandoning structure or control or any of these things. It's just about recognizing that the unknown, those moments of uncertainty, is oftentimes where life happens. That tender edge of taking new actions and new steps so we can be new versions of ourselves. When we stop trying to control every outcome, we get to make room for the unexpected joys, the new relationships, the universal messages of opportunities that we could never have predicted. So as you embark on the rest of your week and the weekend, think and be mindful of what you're choosing, because this is your life, not your fears, not your controls, not society's. If anybody would like more support around this, let me know. Drop me in the comments and I'll reach out to you privately, and we'll see what resource I can best support you, whether it is giving you one of my uncertainty checklists or a little ebook to really just help calm the nervous system, because I know when all this stuff, it's an adventure, and just know that you're not alone. I've got your back every step of the way. Together we radiate. Together we rise.